Hey YouTube, this is Coredump, a little student project that we've been working on for about 15 weeks or so at this point. It's supposed to be an unconventional-ish game where you control a little guy who runs around, dodges bullets, and shoots the bad guys. Pretty basic stuff. The only thing we're doing differently is making the game windows an interactable element of our game. Something the player would be able to walk around, shoot, or use to defeat enemies. So just like on your normal computer, windows can be dragged around, resized, collapsed, and whatnot. The windows the player encounters within our game can be expected to do something a little similar. If you're one of the roughly 80 people or so who've seen our trailer, you might already get an idea of what this might look like. A lot has changed since then though. For starters, we completely rebuilt our project. The trailer showed what we made in the first 10 weeks, but the last 5 weeks were where we built up a completely new project while reevaluating what the game's supposed to feel like. The most visible change would have to be that we got rid of guns. We figured that with how many bullets, enemies, and other hazards we wanted the player to try and dodge, forcing the player to aim and shoot through all that would seem a little chaotic, if not uncomfortable. So instead, we've given the player a little turret. The design isn't final, but the idea is that we give the player something that allows them to automatically fight back while they focus on dodging. That way, their ability to dodge directly impacts how quickly they can clear out enemies. The turret will normally just stick by the player's side and shoot at anything that comes close. But if there are enemies out of reach or the player just wants to have direct control over the turret, they can drag the turret a fixed distance away from themselves. But I'd say our greatest achievement so far has been the way we figured out how to use windows in the new build. Now, the original build featured a few of our core mechanics. Some enemies appeared as windows floating around the desktop, and the player was able to drag around these sort of item windows to gain an advantage. But because we were pressed for time to demonstrate a working concept, a lot of the other elements were really just hard-coded in without any sort of comprehensive systems to back them up. But in our new build, with a lot of effort, we've been able to make everything we need. The main problem we've had is that there's very little content about how to use Windows and Godot properly. These aren't like normal nodes with seamless implementation for all your basic functionality. I mean, just transforming them like a normal node seems like its own kind of challenge. Aside from the Godot documentation itself, the next best thing is a tutorial I'll only be able to find on the second page of Google. But even so, with a lot of late nights where we basically looked like this for 8 hours straight, we've managed to make some pretty cool window tech. Let me go through a few of them. On the simpler side is a tool we made to create levels. Godot doesn't have a way for you to drag windows around. The only way to edit a window within the editor is by editing inside the inspector, which can sometimes feel like playing Battleship with the engine itself. And since doing that would be really stupid, we instead have a tool. Using a pre-builder scene, we can load up child nodes inside it that are simple 2D textures, and whenever we play the scene, a script takes these transform values of these textures and converts them into window-ready transform values, basically making sure that everything looks the same. And after we instantiate the windows, we're left with a complete level layout, complete with physics colliders, navigation regions, and doors. This way, we don't pull our hair out trying to create all sorts of level layouts from windows completely from scratch. And relying on this tool is our very own map generator, which turns a bunch of level layouts into a whole traversable map. It's basically your average roguelike dungeon generator, except it builds maps out of windows, which you may or may not be able to resize and close. But get this. We can't really make the scrolling effect for most 2D games since we have everything on the desktop. So the next best thing we came up with was to move the entire map using linear interpolation to get some sort of Binding of Isaac style room transition. And using similar tech is our window knockback system. With your average Godot node, you might add some kind of rigid body and just call it a day, right? Maybe do some add force, something like that. But windows are completely a different story. They're pretty stubborn, and even if you have a rigid body that the window's attached to, they'll usually just stay put, leading to all sorts of problems. So instead, we use a custom knockback system that uses delta time-based decay in order to make the windows look like there's physics being acted on them. We're basically changing their position every frame, but gradually decreasing the offset that we position it by until the time runs out completely. The only issue with that system is that it's kinda inconsistent, but it'll do for now. But by far what really takes the cake is our state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind UI, or something like that. Whenever the player dies or goes into the home screen, the windows move around and reshape themselves in a near seamless transition, and all of the movement, resizing, and whatnot is done solely with the power of tweens. Yeah, among the coolest things we've made, I think the UI probably represents our game's vision for Windows the best. We want to treat them as something with physical substance. After all, within the context of our game, you should be able to control the windows like the weightless UI components that they are. Anything else would probably feel weird and a little inconsistent. Yet, at the same time, as the one controlling a character who is physically in the world space, these windows are suddenly objects that block their way, move things around, or blow things up. Our biggest challenge is making this weird metagame, where the player is both the all-powerful computer user, but also that little buckethead fighting for their life. Hopefully, if we play all of our cards right, we can strike a balance between these two. On one hand, we'd ideally have something that can truly stand on its own as an action roguelike, but also something with a distinct metagame feel, where both the player and the game seem aware of its fourth wall breaking existence. But that's only something we'll be able to test if yes you, all actually try our game out. I haven't fully explained everything the team's gotten up to, so you're gonna have to stay tuned for the next couple of videos covering the other stuff. But while you wait, you'll be able to see everything we've worked on our game's itch page, which we've linked in the description below. And feel free to leave any questions you have about the window tech we've made, or even just the game itself in the comments below. But that's all for this first one. See y'all around.